The ISIS graphic novel Indiegogo is live. Help me publish the first comic book featuring the goddess next door by putting in a pledge today. This weekend, I finally got a chance to take a look at the first episode of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And I had been anticipating watching this show a while back, but I never got a chance to take a look at it. And now that I've gotten a chance to take a look at the first episode, I was deeply disappointed and deeply disgusted by what I saw in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Now, your Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is supposed to try to give you some spine-tingling horror, but what really chilled my heart towards this show was seeing all of the racism that was presented on screen. Now, your Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is supposed to be an adaptation of the Archie Comics reboot, which is called Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which is supposed to be a more horror-themed adaptation of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But after watching that single first episode, it had me longing for the Melissa Joan Hart sitcom of the 1990s, because at least in the Melissa Joan Hart sitcom and the 1990s cartoon, there was at least more heart on screen in those shows than there was in this one. Now, this Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, like Riverdale that comes on the CW, is supposed to give us a darker themed world of Archie Comics and Archie Comics characters. And it does set a great theme and tone in terms of mood. The cinematography is rock solid, and the actress who plays Sabrina is very good, along with the rest of the supporting cast. And they do a good job of setting up this whole horror theme around your Sabrina coming of age and is about to be baptized and all this stuff, and is about to become this witch and get these powers. But what really irked me was the SJW narratives that were interwoven into this story. And those SJW narratives really sucked all of what could have been the energy out of this series and kept a promising series from actualizing its potential. Because in the first episode, we get your Sabrina talking about how one of her friends, who's supposed to be kind of a tomboy or has a boyish haircut, she gets assaulted, and then they say, oh, the white male principal didn't do anything about it, so they want to make efforts to go after the white male principal. And as they're doing this, they're sitting there talking about patriarchy, and when I heard those things, these were the things that made me cringe, because there was no need to put that in the story, because that's just your producers trying to force identity politics into a story where it doesn't belong. And that was one of the things that irked me about your Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. They went out of their way to make it where it was all about this evil white man. He had this fear of spiders, so they cast a spell on him that to get him out of the picture, because the girl that was being tormented by the jocks, they wanted to make the principal pay for it. And I said, this makes no sense, because the old Sabrina would have gone after the jocks and from the comics that I knew and I read, because I read a lot of Archie Digest back in the late 80s, and she would have gone after the people who did the wrong, not try to use this white man as an avatar to go after all white males. But in this series, they did this, again, as part of that whole social justice narrative, and it sucked the energy out of the show. Now, the other thing that irked me about your Chilling Adventures of Sabrina was, in addition to talking about how much they were going to punish the patriarchy and the evil white man, they then had these black characters that showed how racist these producers are. Now, they had the character of Ambrose, who originally in the comics of the old school Sabrina, he was a hip and cool white dude with a mustache. They have decided to make him a British black guy. And as they made him a British black guy, they have emasculated him, they have effeminized him, and again, they have made him into a butler character, similar to one John Diggle on Arrow. And I don't see how Sabrina's going to have a black cousin when Sabrina Spellman is a white girl, and it just does not fit in organically in the series. Now, the other character that really irked me on Chilling Adventures of Sabrina was the black girl who they put in the series, but she seems like, again, another shoehorned, forced diversity character who is just there to be almost like a mammy or a maid to Sabrina. And that's, again, another insult to me, because as I see it, if you're going to put characters of color in a story, then at least give them stories, at least give them character development, and make them rich, multi-dimensional characters that are compelling. And that's something I didn't see in your Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which seems to be more about trying to promote this false female empowerment narrative, but then doesn't give us the strong heroine that can show us that she can overcome. Again, everything in this series just shows me that they are more about pushing identity politics than telling a great story, because it seems like, just like other things I've seen so far, like Incredibles 2, they're just pushing the whole gynocentric narrative of a woman being strong, and she's only strong if she can tear down a man. And that was one of the things that also irritated me about Chilling episodes of Sabrina. She has to tear down the principal in order to get power, and she has to tear down men in order to get power. And that's not something I would want to promote in a series, because to me, men and women have equal strengths, and men and women can uplift each other. And that's something we really need to see promoted in media, men and women working together. And we didn't get to see that in this series. And in that first episode, it just did not really give me a reason to go out here and want to see any more episodes of Chilling episodes of Sabrina. My heart has been made cold to this series. I have been made chilled to it, because once I started to see that feminism, that identity politics, and that social justice narrative being pushed in this series, I saw no reason to continue watching this series. I was anticipating, going through this entire run of Sabrina, and what made me stop cold was that first episode. And if you can't get me on the first episode, you won't get me to watch the last one. And if this series continues on with all of the identity politics, I don't see this series lasting much longer than your Luke Cage or your Iron Fist, because when it comes down to a series, people want to be entertained, and they just don't want to be preached to. And what Chilling episode of Sabrina does is it gives you a heavy dose of identity politics, racism, and hypocrisy, all sandwiched in this so-called action-adventure horror series. And that's something that I really don't want to waste my time watching overall. I'm running an Indiegogo to publish the first SJS Direct comic book, and I would really appreciate it if you could pledge to help me publish the first comic book featuring the Goddess Next Door. The link to the Indiegogo is in the description box, and if you want to try some of my SJS Direct publications like the ISIS series, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com in the description box. And if you could help me make more videos like this, you can click the link to my Patreon as well. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, E-Steam: The Sands of Time. It's action and adventure in ancient Egypt in this terrific teen time travel romance. Get your copy of E-Steam: The Sands of Time at your favorite online bookseller today.